Hello everyone. Today we're diving into Liverpool's Champions League showdown, and just a week later, Liverpool actually took down Chelsea 1-0. And the goal-scoring hero Garcia was over the moon. They weren't just excited about the cash, it was all about their beloved Liverpool. After 20 years, they are back in the Champions League final, ready to battle the star-studded AC Milan for the trophy. Father and son can't wait to jet off to Istanbul to witness. This is a must-see motivational movie. This 7-year-old kid travelled for 7 days, crossing 7 countries, just to watch a match that he dreamed of. He proves through his journey that with determination, nothing can stand in your way. If you're going through a rough patch, stick around for this story. We might just give you a glimmer of hope. Will grew up in southern England with his mom, but sadly she passed away 4 years ago. Will had to move to an orphanage for care, while his dad was still grinding away in the Liverpool Stadium up north. This was actually the first time he could remember seeing his dad, but his dad often sent Liverpool posters and magazines. That became their only connection, and before you know it, this southern lad turned into a massive Liverpool fan. Now, Dad had finally saved up enough to buy a cosy little pad in Liverpool, a happy ending at last. He couldn't wait to rush to the orphanage to take Will back to Liverpool, and even though they hadn't seen each other in ages, their bond was still strong. This is the power of love. Will had always carried his father's shadow in his heart. He envisioned many happy times together, all captured in his notebook. Dad was instantly moved to tears upon seeing Will's drawings and hurriedly began telling Will about Liverpool's glorious history. What a touching moment of fatherly love. 3 European champions, 6 league titles, 2 FA Cups, and 4 Super Cups. It's dizzying. That's the essence of Liverpool, and Will looked at his dad in awe. Every child has an invincible superhero in their heart, and that hero is their dad. Dad continued sharing Liverpool's tales, including the legends of Dalglish and Gerrard. But as he spoke, he couldn't help but choke up. He wished he could be like Dalglish, creating miracles and always being there for his son. But alas, lost time is never found again. To compensate for his son's missed paternal love, Dad played soccer with him and took him to Mom's favourite tree. They sat under the tree, singing the lullabies Mom used to sing to Will. With Dad by his side, Will felt this was the happiest time of his life. Thrilled him even more was that Dad would take him to Istanbul for the Champions League final. Will snuggled into his dad's arms, singing "I'll Never Walk Alone" together. However, little did Will know, this brief time together would be the last he ever saw of his dad. The next day after school, while everyone went out to play, Will sat outside the classroom waiting for his dad to pick him up. As time ticked away, Dad never showed up, and Will couldn't shake the feeling of unease in his heart. A black car pulled up outside the orphanage, and Will eagerly rushed over, only to see the bar owner step out instead of his dad. The bar owner walked straight into the office, seemingly delivering bad news, and Will felt a heavy stone drop in his heart. Will raced desperately to the bar where Dad was staying, but when he opened the door, Dad was still nowhere to be found. Subtitles. He had no choice but to lie quietly on his side in the bed, as if nestled in his father's arms, quietly sensing that trace of warm breath. Then the bar owner returned with the truth, which hit Will like a bolt from the blue, leaving him feeling helpless and filled with despair. Will was truly an orphan, and his only pillar of support was Liverpool. But without his dad, how could he ever go see that dream Champions League final? Will hoped the owner would take him, but on the day of the match, the owner had other commitments. Will started thinking about going alone. But the nun, worried about Will's safety, confiscated the tickets. After all, he was just a 7-year-old kid. Will, frustrated at failing to realize his dream, tore down posters and his dad's photos at the dorm. They vowed to stay together forever, watch Liverpool's final together, yet his dad left him. Seeing Will so down, his friends helped him hatch a daring escape plan. First off, he needed to cross the English Channel to reach France. Next, he would travel through Germany to reach Austria, where the Vienna steaks are legendary. After feasting, head once to speed through Hungary, then on to Bulgaria, famous for its stews, where he could feast for every meal, and finally headland in Turkey. He would cross through 7 countries along the way, but only had 7 days left before the match began. Will had to act fast, and the first step was to find the tickets. He and his chubby friend sneaked into the storeroom and opened the nun's secret cabinet. The tickets were nowhere to be found. They kept searching, but nothing popped up. That's when Will's eyes landed on a statue. He walked over slowly and found the tickets in the statue's hand. The nun didn't realize the safest spot was the riskiest, underestimating Kid's keen observation. The chubby friend held the ticket, dreaming of the match, and Will generously invited him along, but he shook his head. He preferred staying to help Will buy time, making Will feel incredibly lucky. But just having a ticket wasn't enough. With his friend's reminder, Will recalled the $1,100 he won earlier. So, he snuck out of the orphanage and headed straight for the pub. But the owner saw right through his plan. Being a friend of Will's dad, the owner didn't want to hand over the cash and scolded him for sneaking out, but Will stood his ground because the money was rightfully his. The owner finally used the excuse of going inside to get the cash, secretly alerting the orphanage. Unexpectedly, the waiter left the day's earnings on the table. Smart Will took his $1,100 and embarked on a solo trip to Istanbul. Following the route his chubby friend laid out, Will quietly arrived at the port, sneaking into the back of a car under the cover of night. He boarded the cargo ship heading to France, and by the time the sunlight seeped in, he could only hear incomprehensible French. He approached a fruit stall and met a kind Chinese couple, who not only gave him fruits,